So today I'm going to be reviewing the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 5. And you might be wondering, should you buy this phone in 2024? After all, there is a lot of foldable competition out there. You have the OnePlus Open, you have the Google Pixel Fold, and you also have other phones like the Galaxy S24 Ultra that should be releasing very, very soon. So is this phone still worth buying? Well, my answer might surprise you. So with all that being said, let's get right into it and let's talk about the Z Fold 5. So I know I'm a little late to this review, and it's been about 6 months since this device did come out, but I still wanted to talk about it because this is one of the best phones that you're going to find even in 2024. I understand there are some knocks against this phone. A lot of people, when they were getting this phone, they were hoping for a larger cover display. Samsung on their foldable phones, what they have is this small cover display that is very narrow, and with that being said, it's a little too small. Sometimes if you're trying to type, it might be easy to touch 2 different keys at the same time. So some people wanted something a little bit wider. And then we got the Google Pixel Fold that came out, and it has a very, very wide and usable cover display. It's a 5.8-inch screen on the outside, and it really seems like a normal phone, just a little bit wider. And that's great and all, but this phone, I've got to be honest, it is very, very heavy. Samsung has a lighter foldable phone. It's about 1 ounce lighter, give or take. And when you look at it and the experience that you get, Samsung has done a lot to refine the experience that really makes it at times better than the Google Pixel Fold or the OnePlus Open. They also have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor in it, of course, so they do have a very efficient processor. They have really refined things over time to give this phone great battery life. And when you look at it, this is really one of the best all-around folding phones that you can buy. But there are some compromises, and there still are some reasons why you might want to steer away from it and go to the Galaxy S24 Ultra. But there are also a lot of reasons to go for it and forget about any phone that isn't a folding phone. So first off, if you look at the design of this phone, what you're going to see, yes, smaller cover display, I do understand that, but I will say it is very nice for one-handed use. Now, a lot of this is subjective anyway. Some people really, really like this screen, and they really like the one-handed usability. After all, it is a little bit taller. That might be annoying to some people, but if you want to swipe down that notification bar, you just have to swipe down in the middle of the screen, and it will actually bring down that notification bar. So a lot of people don't have much to worry about as far as that. So I do understand that the screen isn't as wide as some people would like, but at the same time, some people might prefer it, and it's not a huge knock when you consider the overall form factor of the phone. After all, if you look at something like the S24 Ultra, you're not going to be able to open up that phone to get a nice tablet-like experience, and we're seeing less and less of these smaller tablets. Like, a lot of us really want a Galaxy Tab S9, except we want it in an 8-inch size. Well, we don't have a lot of those options, so to see a phone that really gives us that power, but gives it to us in a smaller form factor with a cool little tablet experience, it's really, really unique. And again, it's something that I think a lot of people would like if they would just give it a try. Of course, if you open up the phone, you are still going to notice the crease. I will say the crease on this phone is going to be a little more noticeable than some other devices. It's about the same as the Google Pixel Fold, but if you compare it to like the OnePlus Open or maybe a Motorola Razr, phones like that, the crease is a little bit less noticeable on those devices. But when you look at the display on this is so nice whenever I'm using it day to day. Whenever I'm watching content, yes, there are some black bars on the top and the bottom. No matter which way I do turn the device, because of the aspect ratio, you are going to see those bars. But despite that, the screen is amazing on this foldable phone. In fact, it's a little bit better than the Google Pixel Fold, just as far as the colors, just as far as how good this AMOLED display looks, and also the brightness levels are great as well. Like, we're talking about 1750 nits as far as the peak brightness levels. So this display is terrific. Of course, having AMOLED, having a great resolution, that helps also. We're talking about 2176 by 1812 for that resolution. So this display, it is so, so nice. And I know the Galaxy S24 Ultra, the display on that phone is going to be amazing too. But when you have this unique form factor, that makes such a difference with pretty much everything everything that you're doing, especially when you're doing something like reading, for example. A lot of people would think that the Google Pixel Fold would be better for reading, and so did I. After all, it's almost like two separate phones with a little slit in the middle. It reminds me of the Microsoft Surface Duo 2, and it was really cool having that device because it was almost like if I opened the Kindle app, it was almost like I had two separate pages of a book. But I noticed that I actually prefer reading a lot of news articles. I prefer reading a lot of things online on the Galaxy Z Fold 5 because I don't have to worry about two different columns and having words get cut off all the time. Instead, I just have a lot of text on the screen, and because the screen is so tall, I'm able to just slowly scroll down as I'm reading. And because the screen is so good, and of course because of the performance, this really makes this phone a little bit better of an all-around champ. It does have that Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 and 12 gigabytes of RAM, so multitasking is no problem on this device. I'm flying through everything, of course, so multitasking is no problem on this device. I can open up 2 or 3 apps at a time. That's where this phone does have an advantage over the Google Pixel Fold, because you could actually have 3 apps open here. Now, of course, the Google Pixel Fold is going to be able to display those 2 apps a little bit better. Having 2 narrow apps that are taller, it's not quite as good for multitasking, but Samsung, they've done so much refining of their foldable software, having the awesome taskbar, of course, at the bottom, having the cool multitasking experience, and even having Samsung DeX as an option. If you want to connect this to a monitor, open up Samsung DeX. That does give you a lot of versatility to where you could use this phone as a mini computer, you could connect it to a monitor anytime, while you could still have a nice tablet when you want it, and a smaller phone when you need it. Samsung is also a little bit better with durability too. So a lot of foldable phones, you worry about how long they could last, but Samsung has worked on their design over time, and I understand. You have seen a lot of issues if you look at Reddit or other places, because a lot of people have been buying these foldable phones. So of course, you are going to see a lot of issues. But I will say there are more repair centers, for example, like if you go to uBreak iFix, for example, they have a deal with Samsung to where they work with them on warranty issues. They will also replace your screen protector for free the first time. So I see all of those things in totality, and the fact that this does now close shut even, that's a huge deal, that you don't have a big gap in the hinge and a bunch of dust getting in there. So I really like the minor tweaks that they've made, and overall, even though they didn't really make a lot of changes between this and the Z Fold 4, it's an awesome experience. And that's why I think a lot of people, when they're looking at phones, yes, the Galaxy S24 Ultra, I'm sure it will have better cameras, and the performance might be 10% better, and a lot of people aren't going to notice it at all. A lot of people aren't going to see that. But what you will notice is the screen size. A lot of you want a smaller phone that fits in your pocket, but you want a tablet in that case when you need it. And when you look at all of the sales that are going to be going on with the Z Fold 5, a lot of people are selling it brand new in mint condition for like $900 or $1,000 if you go to eBay or Swappa. If you look at Samsung's website, they've had a lot of sales, and there's been a lot of sales over the holiday season. So what I'm saying is, if you count those sales in here, you're probably going to get a similar price on the Z Fold 5 compared to the Galaxy S24 Ultra. So what are you going to get with the S24 Ultra? Well, you will get a little bit of better cameras. That won't be too noticeable to most people in most conditions, but yes, the cameras will be a little bit better on the Galaxy S24 Ultra, and yes, the performance will be ever so slightly better, and the display might even be ever so slightly better with a little bit of better brightness. Sure, there are some minor things to like, but a lot of people just don't understand how awesome it is to have a small phone when you need it and to be able to open it up and have a nice tablet experience. And whenever I'm gaming on this device, I'm having such a good experience. It's so much better than gaming on a normal slab phone. It makes such a huge difference to have this large screen. Whenever you're working on various documents or just reading the news, having such a large screen, it means you're having a lot of text on your screen and you don't have to be scrolling quite as often. It's really a game changer. And I think a lot of those things are better than 5% better performance here or 5% of a better gain here. Now there are still some drawbacks. Again, if you do look at those cameras and you look at some samples here, you are going to see that the cameras look great. Absolutely. The pictures look great as far as the pictures that I was taking of my family or taking pictures of nature. I was getting some tremendous shots. but it does not have 100 times zoom. The zoom, it does max out at 30, so you're not going to be able to get quite as far if you're zooming in, but still that's going to be more than good enough for most situations. The pictures will still be about 90 to 95% as good as something as an S24 Ultra, and whenever you do look at the video quality, it's still very good whenever you do shoot in 4K. Now the battery life will take a little bit of a hit, I will say that, because you are powering a larger screen, so if you do actually open up this phone a little more often, you are going to notice the battery life won't be quite as good as a smaller slab phone, because of course powering a larger screen, that is going to take a little bit more power. In the battery size, it won't be quite as big as the Galaxy S24 Ultra because it is a 4400 milliamp battery. So the question is, what form factor do you want? If you want the uniqueness and the coolness of a foldable phone, you are going to have to deal with some drawbacks. You are going to have to deal with the camera being ever so slightly worse. You are going to have to deal with not having the latest and greatest in every single facet of your phone. But if you're willing to take a 5% compromise in a few different categories, you are going to have this awesome form factor that a lot of people don't have. And I think that's really worth it for a lot of people. But the big thing that will hold people back is price and durability. And durability, I don't think it's as much of an issue as most people could make it out to be. If the screen protector on the inside peels, just go to a U-Break iFix and replace it, or send in your phone for a week. Just try to have a backup phone. If you are spending this much money on a phone, maybe you could afford like a $100 backup phone just in case. If you get your screen protector replaced maybe once a year, and if you're okay with your phone only lasting 2, 3, or 4 years. Remember, most people do upgrade every 2 or 3 years. So for a lot of people, if you want really cool technology like this, you are going to have to deal with those compromises like your durability not being quite as good or quite as secure as something like an S24 Ultra. And I highly doubt you're going to have any of those issues because you're not required to have a fragile inner screen with a screen protector on something like the S24 Ultra. But if you could deal with those minor durability concerns, which are pretty minor for most people, and if you do just keep a decent case on this, I think most people are going to be able to protect this. I don't expect a ton of cracks down the middle, at least until you're 3 or 4 years down the road. So if you could deal with that, you're getting an awesome form factor in a really, really cool phone. And I think that's really awesome for people. But the price is another issue. $1,800 for any phone, it's a lot. $1,700. These foldable phones are very expensive. And $1,200 even is more money than most people should pay for a phone. So the S24 Ultra, if it comes out around $1,200, that might be a little more feasible. But with a lot of sales that are going to go on, that's going to bring this neck and neck with something like the S24 Ultra. So you have to ask yourself, do you want the form factor? Do you want the coolness of that form factor where you take a little bit of compromise? Or do you want a phone with the latest and greatest everything, but you don't get a tablet in your pocket? That is a major deal for so many people, having that tablet in your pocket. I don't really think people get it, but it's such an awesome phone. I think even though it needs a little bit of a wider cover display, I'm sure they're going to change that in the next iteration. I would highly recommend the Z Fold 5. I think this is the year to really try foldable phones. They have really advanced so far, and the Z Fold 5, in my opinion, when I look at all of them, I think it's the best all-around phone you can get as far as a foldable goes. And it's really, really close. It's a really close call between this and the S24 Ultra. Hopefully this video has helped you out. I really do appreciate any love that I get on this video, so give it a like, and hey, also give me a sub if you could. And check out those links in the description. That is a great way to support me, for real. If you're thinking about buying this, feel free to check those links, or even reserve a spot for the S24 Ultra. That is going to be a great thing. It doesn't cost anything to reserve a spot, so check out those links there. And also, check out some other videos if you get a little bit of time. So I hope you have a great day, and I really hope you enjoy your week.